Today we're going to be looking at informational text, and we're going to be looking at the different types of text that you can write and use in our reading, and there's 3 different types. So we're going to watch this short video first and look at what informational text is.
Whether we know it or not, we learn something every day by reading. Whether we know it or not, we learn through various reading sources like social media, smartphone applications, and newspapers. These texts are informative because they build upon our prior knowledge or feed us with information we did not know. This is one of the most popular types of writing, and it is known as informational text. Learn more about informational text and its features through this lesson. Informational text is nonfiction writing, written with the intention of informing the reader about a specific topic. It is typically found in magazines, science or history books, autobiographies, and instruction manuals. They are written using special text features that allow the reader to easily find key information and understand the main topic. The author will do this by providing headers over certain sections, by placing important vocabulary in bold type, and by using visual representations with captions. These visual representations can be pictures or even infographics that include tables, diagrams, graphs, and charts. In some cases, the author will even provide the reader with a table.
We're just going to keep going because we weren't loved in here. But we're going to look at one of the 3 types of informational text. We're going to be looking at scientific text today. So let's look at what scientific text is. So a lot about our informative text is going to be about making connections. So let's look at this example when it comes up. Have you noticed the connections between events that take place around you? If you see it begin to rain outside, then what do we normally use? Can someone tell me? James? An umbrella, right? An umbrella or a rain jacket. A lot of times in Florida we have to use that a lot because we never know when the rain might be coming. Okay, if we regularly brush our teeth, then our teeth are going to be what? Madison? What's that? Clean, yeah. If we brush our teeth, they're going to be clean. So those are simple, everyday connections that we make, right? So let's look at this next one. Just like you can observe connections in which events take place around you, you can also observe connections within scientific text. Scientific text tells us about how and why things happen in the natural world. So let's read. Can someone volunteer to read this paragraph for me, please? Henry, go ahead.
Seeds have an outer shell. This is called the seed coat. Inside the seed, there is a baby plant called the embryo. There is plant food within the seed called the endosperm. A seed can sense when it is in the right environment for growing. When the seed is planted in soil, receives water, and the temperature is right, then it can begin growing. It will first push down roots, then a shoot will push through the ground and begin growing. Plant matter is produced mostly from air and water, not from soil.
Very good. So in this example, it's talking about something that happens in our natural world.
Endosperm.
Scientific text also describes the connections between 2 events or concepts. If we look at this example, when a seed is planted inside of soil and it receives water, air, and sunlight, then it can grow into a plant. So if we plant our plants at home and we take good care of them and we water them, they get the right amount of sunlight, they're going to grow. A cause and effect relationship. Some scientific texts can have multiple connections within the text. Can someone volunteer to read this paragraph for me, please? Kaylin.
Did you know that food of almost all animals refers back to plants? Some animals eat plants that food, and some animals eat other animals that eat plants. But when plants die and animals die, some organisms, such as fungi and bacteria, break into down. These organisms are called decomposers. Decomposers can return the plants from the dead animals and plants back to the soil.
Very good. So in this one, we saw multiple connections that were happening, multiple things that happen within our ecosystem. And let's look at one more of these examples. Some scientific texts, like we said before, can have multiple connections. So if we look at this first picture, some animals eat plants. Our next one says some animals eat animals that eat plants. Our next one, animals and plants die. And our next one, fungi and bacteria decompose the animals and plants. So we have multiple connections happening. Things are cause and effect relationship. Something happens so something else can happen. Yes, Leslie? Yes, go ahead. So now let's see about why is it important. Why is it important to explain connections between events and concepts within a scientific text? It says, if you can understand how events and concepts connect together, you may better understand how the world works around you. So if we understand our connections, we can understand what's happening around us. So go ahead and please take out your reading journal, your first box, this first informational text box on your journal, on that empty page. And then you're gonna glue the picture of the girl underneath it. Yes, she has the book open. You're gonna take a few notes.
That's a good book. She's a business. You put her in the middle.
What's that?
You put her in the middle.
Yeah, you put her in the middle.
That's a face in there.
Thank you to those that are doing this quickly, quietly. Give you about 15 seconds to get that all glued in. Alright, so in this left-hand box over here, we're gonna write informational text explains interactions So our left side talks about how our interactions or relationships, what those explain. Now we're going to talk about those relationships, what they include. So interactions or relationships include cause and effect, sequence of events, compare and contrast, problem solution, or a person slash event. So while a few of you are finishing up writing, who can remind me, what is a cause and effect relationship? Cole.
Like, there's probably
Very good, right? So something happens, and then something else happens because of it. What's a sequence of events in a story? What might that be, Grady?
One thing happens and the next thing happens, but kind of related.
Yeah, like they're kind of related. So things happen in order, our sequence of events. When we compare and contrast something, what are we doing? What are we finding between the two? Jeeves.
You're comparing like what are same and what are different.
Very good. So we're looking at our similarities and we're looking at our differences. And then a problem solution. What are those in the story? Leslie.
Like what can happen and then if you fix it.
Very good, right? So our conflict and our solution, we have a lot of those in our narrative stories. And then our person and event, those are our characters, right, that happen in a story. But these are the type of things that you're going to see within an informational text. So now on your next page, go ahead and glue in the other paper that says relationships and interactions. can just draw a little squiggly line underneath it. So when we're reading through our text, we can think about how are blank and blank similar? When we're looking at two people in our story or our informational text, we're going to think about how are they similar? We can also ask, how does the evidence prove blank and blank are similar? Are similar or related? So not only are we thinking about how they're similar, but we also have to think about what evidence shows that they are similar. What evidence in the text shows that those two characters or two events are similar? By looking at this picture on our left-hand side here, can anyone tell me the name of this older president? He is one of our first presidents we had in the United States. Lila.
Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln, very good. So we're gonna write an example of a question that we could ask about Abraham Lincoln. You can write it on this paper, or if you have room underneath, wherever you have room. How is Abraham Lincoln connected to the Civil War?
Do you have a note about Abraham Lincoln?
Yes. And if we were reading about Abraham Lincoln in our informative text, and we were about to answer this question, we would have to use our evidence as well to be able to answer it back from the text. You don't have to write that. But now, as you guys keep finishing that up, if you're done, you can turn to your next page, and we're gonna look more about the different types of informational text that there are. You do not have to cut these. So go ahead and read your examples on the bottom. And then for the next one, you're gonna glue on just this strip right here. You see this black line? You're gonna glue just the back of that, so it's gonna be like a book, so you can open it up. You're just gonna take a strip of glue right here. Like that. So you make it a little book. You should be able to open it and look at your examples. Yeah, your examples are gonna go, you're gonna glue all the way down,
This whole thing,
and the top is just
and
gonna
then
be like a
over
book.
here, and then over here.
And go ahead and take out a highlighter when you're done gluing that in.
Wait,
Wait for those that are doing this quickly and quietly so we can continue. Alright, so there are 3 types of informational text, but today we're only going to look at our scientific text. Go ahead and open up your book. And we're going to read again a little more about what scientific text is. Scientific text informs the reader about concepts in science. Scientific text gives the reader a greater understanding of the world around them. Topics may include nature, animals, plants, the scientific method, space, chemistry, geology, the human body, and weather. There are several examples of types of informational text that you may see. You may find them in non-fiction science books. They may be found in science magazines. They may be found in science textbooks, science blogs, science research websites, scientific journals, or even newspapers. You can find some different types of scientific text. Does anyone know what a blog is? Maybe they can tell me what do you think a blog is? Okay.
Like a blog, like a science blog. Science blog is like, I'm guessing like a textbook, like where they have like information.
That's a good guess. It's not a textbook, but where else might you find a blog, Jaslyn?
You would usually find them on places like YouTube. They would be informational videos, like maybe a video of an experiment or a video of how something would work.
Yeah, close. It's usually online. A blog is usually you can find an article that you can find information on scientific material. Very good. All right, so now we're going to look at a scientific text. answer a few questions about it. We're gonna have to look for evidence to find the answer. Can I have someone read for me, please? Volunteer to read this? Maddie, go ahead.
Sea turtles migration. The nesting ritual of female sea turtles is one of the most fascinating behaviors in the animal kingdom. Female sea turtles migrate back to lay their nests on the same exact beaches where they were born. At night, they slowly crawl out of the ocean and scope out the best possible spot to lay their eggs. Once they have found a dry part of the beach to make their nest, they begin to fling loose sand with their flippers. They make a hole deep enough to fit their body by rotating themselves and using their flippers to dig. Then under that hole, they create another smaller cavity just big enough to hold their eggs. This is exhausting work for the sea turtle. She lays anywhere from 80 to 120 eggs at a time. Once her eggs are safe in the cavity, she uses her rear flippers to push sand over the eggs and then pack more sand on top to disguise the nest. It is important that she can conceal her nest from potential predators. Once she finishes laying her eggs, she never returns to the nest. Instead, she returns back to the ocean. Scientists are unsure of how sea turtles navigate their way back to the same beach where they were born, but they believe it has something to do with Earth's magnetic field. They think that sea turtles detect longitude and latitude through this field, which helps them return to these beaches. Scientists also believe the ocean's current and water chemistry may play a part in finding these locations. Sea turtles migrate through the Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Ocean. These journeys can be hundreds up to thousands of miles long in distance. The migration of sea turtles is quite an impressive voyage, and one that remains a great wonder of the animal kingdom.
Very good. Alright, let's look at our first question here on the map that we glued in. Explain the relationship between female sea turtles and the beaches in which they were born. So we're going to have to go back into our text and find where they talked about that. So can someone tell me where they found the relationships between the sea turtles and the beaches in which they were born? Keelan, what did you find? Very good. So go ahead and highlight where you saw that information. So notice that we're explaining a relationship between two things, and we had to go back in the text to find our evidence to find the answer. Let's look at number 2. What is the effect of the mother sea turtle disguising her nest? So we're gonna have to go back and look. What is the effect of the mother sea turtle disguising her nest? What did you find, Max? Very good. Yep. conceal her nest from potential predators? And why do you think that she does that? Why does she conceal her nest from potential predators? What might happen if she didn't do that? Jasmine?
The eggs would most likely get eaten because a lot of animals do eat baby eggs before they're even born, like gator eggs.
Very good, yes. She wants to make sure that they're protected, right? Make sure that nothing happens to them. Very good. Let's look at our next one. How does the relationship between Earth's magnetic field and sea turtles possibly help these creatures to navigate their way through the ocean? So let's look at that relationship. What does the text say about that? Cole, what did you find?
I think that sea turtles can detect noise too.
Very good. So let's continue, which helps them return to these beaches. So let's go ahead and highlight where we found that answer in our text. Alright, we have one more question that we have to look at. Find a detail in the text that helps you to infer that mother sea turtles have no interaction with their babies once they are born. Can someone tell me what infer means? What does it mean to infer something in a text? Henry.
Take a guess.
Take a guess. Good. So find a detail in the text that helps you infer or take a guess that mother sea turtles have no interaction with their babies once they're born. Give you another couple seconds to try and find that answer. Lila, what did you find that helped you infer?
They leave their babies after the nest.
Good. Once she finishes laying her eggs, she never returns to the nest. Instead, she returns back to the ocean. Not sure. Alright, once you have that highlighted, I want to ask you one more thing, just to wrap it up. So when we're looking at informational text, what does it do? Henry?
Gives you information.
Yeah, it gives you information. And what types of things do we learn about that it does? What are we looking at? We would have got it up here. Leslie. Yeah, relationships and interactions. We're looking at a lot in our informational text. And when we are looking at our relationships and we're answering our questions, what do we need to use to help us answer our questions? What do we have to go back and look at?